It was one of those mornings when the world outside the glass windows of the cafe looked too perfect to be real. Golden sunlight spilling across the streets, a gentle breeze dancing through fallen leaves, and laughter echoing from strangers who seemed to have everything figured out. But inside the quiet corner of Harper's Cafe, a little girl was swinging her legs under the table, humming softly as she drew something on a napkin. Beside her sat a man in a dark gray suit, tall, calm, and distant. His eyes were lost in the glow of his phone screen, but his mind wasn't really there. It was miles away, buried under years of memories he had tried too hard to forget. This was Ethan Carter, the youngest CEO of a multinational firm, a man who built empires but had lost the one thing that truly mattered: love. 3 years ago, he had walked away from a woman who had given him everything: trust, warmth, and a child he never knew existed. If you believe in kindness, forgiveness, and second chances, take a second to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to Dreamy Hearts for more stories that touch the soul. That morning, as Ethan's daughter Lily swung her feet and looked around with her bright blue eyes, she suddenly froze. Her little hand trembled as she pointed across the cafe. "Daddy," she whispered in her small, excited voice. "That's her!" Ethan lifted his eyes, following the direction of her tiny finger, and in that 1 second, the air left his lungs. Standing near the counter, talking to the barista, was Claire Bennett, the woman he had loved and the woman he had broken. She was older now, softer somehow, her hair tied back loosely, a faint tiredness in her smile. But those eyes hadn't changed. They were the same eyes that once looked at him with endless faith. He couldn't move. His body went still, his heartbeat loud enough to drown the world. Lily kept smiling, oblivious to the storm that had just ripped open her father's chest. Claire turned, her gaze meeting Ethan's for the first time in 3 years. Her expression froze. The cup she was holding trembled slightly. For a moment, time refused to move forward. 3 years earlier, Ethan and Claire had been inseparable. She wasn't just his love. She was his calm in a ruthless corporate world. She worked at a small publishing firm. He was already a rising executive. But when his father died and Ethan was forced to take over the company, everything changed. Long hours, pressure, greed, and fear began to replace laughter and warmth. Claire begged him not to lose himself, not to forget who he was. But he did. And one night, after a cruel argument about priorities and pride, she walked out, not knowing she was carrying his child. Ethan never tried to find her, maybe out of guilt or cowardice. He buried himself in work, convincing himself it was better that way. Until fate brought her back today, through the innocent eyes of a child. "Daddy, let's go say hi," Lily said, her smile as bright as sunshine. Ethan's throat tightened. "Sweetheart, maybe not right now." But Lily had already jumped off her chair, her little shoes tapping across the floor. Claire turned when she felt a small tug on her coat. "Hi," the girl chirped. "I like your hair. You look like the lady in my drawings." Claire smiled politely, though her eyes carried confusion. "That's very sweet, honey. What's your name?" "Lily," she said proudly. "My daddy says I look like my mommy. But I think I look like you." The color drained from Claire's face. Slowly, she looked toward the man standing a few feet away, frozen in place, guilt written across every inch of his being. Ethan finally stepped forward, every step heavier than the last. "Claire," his voice cracked like dry leaves. She didn't reply. Her hands trembled as she realized the truth. The same eyes, the same small smile, the same dimple on the right cheek. Lily wasn't just any little girl. She was hers. The cafe fell silent. Ethan's chest felt like it was being crushed under the weight of years unsaid. "I didn't know," he whispered. "I swear, Claire, I didn't know about her." Claire blinked back tears. "Would it have mattered if you did?" Her voice was soft, but it hit harder than any scream. He wanted to say yes. He wanted to tell her that not a single night had passed when he hadn't thought of her, when guilt hadn't eaten him alive. but words were useless now. She took Lily's small hand gently. "You have a beautiful daughter, Ethan. She deserves the love of both her parents, but I built a life for her without you. Please don't ruin it." He nodded, unable to speak, watching the two walk out of the cafe like the world was punishing him for his past choices. For weeks after that encounter, Ethan couldn't sleep. Every room in his mansion felt colder. Every board meeting, every success, every newspaper headline, it all meant nothing. His heart kept returning to that little cafe, to that innocent smile that mirrored his own. He hired people discreetly, not to invade, but just to know, was she happy? She was teaching at a small art school for children. She painted on weekends, raised Lily in a modest apartment, and smiled through everything. But Ethan could see it, the struggle, the exhaustion, the nights she stayed up late finishing work. One evening he drove to the school and waited outside, heart pounding like a man about to face judgment. Lily ran out first, clutching a small painting in her hands. "Mommy, look, I made us." Claire smiled, bending down to kiss her, but when she looked up, her eyes met Ethan's again. This time, she didn't turn away. Weeks passed. Ethan began showing up, not as a CEO, but as a father. He would take Lily to the park, to ice cream shops, to her art classes. He never forced anything, never demanded forgiveness. He just showed up, consistently, quietly, lovingly. Claire watched from a distance, her walls still high, her heart still guarded. But every time Lily laughed in Ethan's arms, something inside her softened. One rainy evening, Claire found herself standing outside his car as he dropped Lily home. "You didn't have to do all this," she said quietly. "I know," he replied, his voice steady, "but I want to. Why now, Ethan? After all this time?" He took a long breath. "Because I finally realized what real success looks like. It's not the company I built, it's the family I destroyed, and I can't undo the past, but I can try to be better now." Her eyes glistened. "You think that's enough?" "No," he said softly, "but it's a start." Days turned into months. Slowly, the bitterness began to fade. Claire saw the man she once loved again. Not the CEO, but the kind, clumsy soul who used to surprise her with coffee and make her laugh on her worst days. Lily's laughter filled their world like music, her innocent joy becoming the bridge between two hearts that had been broken too long. One winter evening, as snow fell gently outside, the three of them sat together decorating a small Christmas tree. Lily looked at them and giggled. "Daddy, you're smiling at Mommy again." Ethan laughed softly. "I guess I am." Claire looked away, trying to hide her blush, but he saw it, the faint smile returning, the warmth seeping back. It wasn't a fairy tale. It was fragile, slow, and real. Forgiveness didn't happen overnight, but love. Love had quietly found its way back. Months later, at Lily's school art exhibition, she proudly showed a painting, a family of three holding hands under a bright sky. "That's us," she shouted. "Mommy, Daddy, and me." Ethan and Claire looked at the painting, then at each other, eyes glistening with the same emotion they once ran from. Maybe life had its own way of healing wounds, not by erasing the past, but by teaching hearts how to start again. If this story touched your heart even a little, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Dreamy Hearts, where every story reminds us that love deserves a second chance.